Okay, in making our battery analysis, we need to come up with a cost. The big deal is the capital cost of the batteries. Now, there are various places to find this. This Lazard levelized cost of storage version 2 has a whole bunch of data for us, but it's not in Excel. So we're going to take this data and just stick it into Excel. That's the first thing we're going to do. All right, and they have some data that's for residential, some for commercial, and we're going to see, okay, here's the current cost. How much does the cost have to decrease before we can this becomes economic? Or if it's economic already, what happens if the cost increases or decreases? This capital cost is the big item, and they have some operating costs and some efficiencies and other things. Now, if you go to the EIA website, the US website, they also have in their November, I think there's they keep updating this stuff, which I suppose is good. And there's a December one. There's a analysis they did, and they gave us the cost of a battery was 2,800 USD per kilowatt. So we have something to compare it with. And then they have a fixed O&M and a variable O&M. So we might as well stick this in the database. And so I'm just going to put a database together, and it's mainly going to be reading Excel. And I made some updates in the read PDF to Excel, which I keep doing. So it's kind of a moving target. But when you read these things in, the titles are all messed up completely. And I've tried to come up with ways to fix these titles. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So let's start with Lazard, which I think the costs were pretty significantly different. Now, if we copy this, and it's got to be number one, if you're trying to do this and say, this doesn't work with my Windows thing, it's got to be Adobe. Sorry about that. I don't know why. That's what I started with. And it copies it. And if you're getting it from the internet, Google Chrome works a lot better. And if you're getting it, if it still doesn't work, you go to Google Drive. I don't know why it works better with Google. Don't think that I'm advocating some Google thing. And you better make sure it's on Unicode text. And then it just reads it in. And then you notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 columns of data. If I press Shift Control, now I'm going to read. I'm going to get my read PDF. I'm sure you're not going to do it like me where you keep it in a special little place in your Excel. I'm sure you wouldn't do that like I do, but whatever. And press Shift Control A. And we can try this column number. I think I said 12. If we say select column number, what it does is it treats those blanks as a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But it didn't it didn't add those up correctly. I have a little routine, and it doesn't seem to include the blanks. So press Shift Control A and increase the columns to 12, and then try to format it. Okay, and then I made a little bit of a wide thing at first for some reason. There must have been some kind of title at the bottom or something. I don't know why I made that so wide. And then we have these title problems. Now, we have another problem as well. And that's if you look at this, if you look at the cost here, this is 769, 1566. Just 1 minute. Oh, God. I'm really sorry. I took the wrong, I was looking at the wrong thing. here's our output. Now, and the good news is it put all of the capital costs together, and it put all of those things in between. So you press Control Space Bar and Control minus to get rid of these things. Okay, and then we're going to take these titles. Now, if you notice, these titles, the first column should be units, and then if you look at the titles, then we have lithium, lead, flow battery, zinc, whatever, and sodium. Okay, and we have two things here, and we have one on the rest. So what happens is, when you do all of this, it doesn't get it all right. And in fact, I'm going to copy this one back over here, the original titles that didn't remove the parentheses, because I had an option to remove parentheses in the analysis, because we have to know what a negative number is, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you press Shift-Control-A, you notice at the bottom it has fixed title, Shift-Control-T. I have worked a whole long time on this, and I bet nobody's going to care about it. But when you press Shift-Control-T, it says, okay, try 12 columns. That doesn't matter. Let's make it 2 rows. And then what it does is it takes all of these, splits them apart, splits these apart, and then tries to put it into 2 titles. Now, we don't want this. We want units in one, and then lead on the next, and then flow battery is 1 column, and so on and so forth. So the first thing is we're going to do is before the units we put a blank, and then it puts a blank here. Oh, that worked pretty well. And then let's do the same thing for lithium, and that worked pretty well. And then let's do the same thing for lead, and that worked pretty well. Oh God, it's working better than I thought. And then once we have lead, then we want flow battery to be in one single thing. So you just do that, and it puts it back together. And then for sodium, we put another one there. And then here's what we can do. So what you do is you can put, it kind of takes the original one, splits it into separate things, and you can look at this. I'm putting this on the website, and you can look at how the programming was done, and it was a pain. I hope you can see. And now we get our title right. Now, we're going to have to put spaces in. I can also insert these titles at the top of the sheet if I want. I think I'll do that. And it says, okay, put them at the top. And then I can continue and apply the title. And then I can exit the program. And when I put these things in, it kind of did it for me. Now, the only problem with this is, first of all, when I put these units in here, what we really wanted to do was we had 2 columns with high and low for each of these. You know what I'm going to do? This time I'm just going to do it. So we just put units here. We do it by hand. What the heck? You know, that's why Excel is there, so you can do these kind of things, I guess. I used to have to program all this crap. Okay, so, you know, then I'm just moving these so we can kind of get a high and a low case for each of these. And I guess this one's the low cost and the high cost, and there's virtually everything else is the same except for the capital cost. So we can put low and high. Okay, and then we get our titles right. Now, I don't know if you like that, but I can tell you, it really helps. And then you can, you can use this for all this. What's that guy, the Oracle man or whatever, who's got he went to the same university as I did, and he got all these billions. But he gives you this data that's in this horrible format, and you can fix it. Now, I should have done one more thing. This after year, I could have retained the years or something, but that's residential. Now, Okay, and I'm going to, so that's our first part of our database. And then let's go up and try one more. Okay, so we started at the bottom here, and this was commercial. This is not going to be very different. And in fact, is it lithium, lead, sodium? This was lithium, lead. So we have the same titles. That's going to be so easy. It's going to be ridiculous. Okay, but let's do it. So Shift F11 to make a new sheet. Copy it. Why did this have this funny thing here? Something I've never seen before. Okay, so this is very funny. Shift Control A. I think we had 12 different columns. You can look at the programming in this and see how it all works. Okay, and then we get our things. Now on this one, I'm going to go ahead and delete our original sheet, and I'm just going to put the same titles in. Okay, so that was kind of almost too easy of an explanation. Except, shoot! Just a minute. We had lead, flow battery, sodium. I forgot to delete this, the blanks. Okay, excuse me for that. Excuse me for that. I'm leaving it on though. Now I'm going to just do one more of these. Okay, and let's go up. Whoops. This was commercial appliance, residential, commercial appliance. Then this is commercial and industrial. And in fact, okay, let's try this one. This is going to be a little more difficult because there are more columns of data, although luckily the initial capital cost is always the same. So we'll do one more. We'll copy it and try to remember what it is now. Okay, and I'm gonna stop and count how many we have. Okay, now this has 24. I just counted. It has 24. This was commercial and industrial. I'll put C and I and U. Now these residential don't have a demand meter typically. Now they're getting them with this AMI stuff that I just testified on, and I'm going to get yelled at because I said that shouldn't be a customer charge. Now this commercial industrial, they might have a demand charge on their meters. So if you have you might be able to, if you have a spike in your demand charge, and I'm looking at the battery section, I showed some testimony. This is the kind of stuff I have to work on and how I fund this silly website sometimes. They had this customer that had a sudden spike, and they were complaining. They didn't want some kind of allocation method. Okay, I think this is where he put it. And he said, this customer had a spike, and he's paying a demand charge because of this one spike. If he had a battery, he could have taken some of the storage and flattened this out. Maybe he could have flattened this out. Maybe you could have flattened this out. This is for an individual. Well, it's for a few large industrial customers. So that's where it would come in. That's really where the battery analysis would come in. So let's go and try this. Shift Control A, and then I said there are 24. Oops. And you can see how to manage all these little things, whatever the spinner box is in. Okay. And then when we do this, it should say CNI 2. And the nice thing about here is that, again, it I think it worked. It's 343 is the first one, and 1106 is the last one. We can kind of look. Let's see, come on, 343, 1106. Okay, good. And I'm just going to kind of show you how the Shift Control T works. Before that, let's do this and exit the program for a minute. Before that, remember, let's delete these blank rows again, and we're going to start to have a database put together of all of this battery stuff. Now, when we get to diesel, we'll see that if you have real quotes, that is so much better than these generic kind of studies, of course. Okay, and now it's at 0. Let's put 15. It really doesn't matter. Let's put 2. And then it kind of gives you the thing. So we're going to do the same thing. And we want a space before zinc now. Okay, and we want a space before lithium. And the flow battery, we want that to be one column. That scared me. And then we have vanadium. Okay, good. And then this flow battery, we're going to again do it like this. And that's a zinc. And then we, just a minute. So we have two flow batteries and zinc bromine, that's one word. And then we have other. Okay, so we have to kind of look at the real titles just for a minute. That was a good exercise. So the zinc bromine is kind of one thing. Hopefully this is all one of these, and then we have another flow battery, and that's other. And then before lead, let's put lead on the bottom. Okay, and let's put sodium on the bottom. You don't know how hard this was to do. That's why I'm doing it. I want to show it to you. Of course, I'd never be able to sell any of this. I'm not that delusional. But now we continue and apply the title, and we can exit the program. Okay, and then it did it for us, and it kind of did it in a reasonable way. Okay, and let me switch off this is just a quick note. I'm doing the next ones and the next ones and the next ones. I'm going to do them all and get back to you. Okay, now I don't want to remove the number and the comma. If I click this one off, then if I press continue and now reformat the data, this is the next kind of one we have, then it will, it will, let's make sure it's still off. Okay, that's still off. Continue. I think it remembers it, if I programmed it correctly. Okay, then when we go down, it says after year 5, after year 10, and so forth. Okay, so that's how you use the options. Okay, here's a little note on the microgrid. On the microgrid, we had it very, very simple. There were only a couple of alternatives. And when you get something like this, you know, if it's all in one column, you just press Shift-Control-U instead of Shift-Control-T. And all it does is it splits it up for you, okay? So that's another little note on how to, here's another little problem, okay? These are all solvable problems. When I'm getting to the distribution substation, there's no data here. We've got 3 data points here and only 1 data point here. So when you go through and make your Shift-Control-A, and I adjusted this to 27, because I did that. Okay. Now, when you do that, it puts it all in here. Just a minute. I did it on the wrong thing. Oh, what an idiot. Okay. This is our distribution substation, and all you have to do is kind of move these over manually. Okay, it's a little. You have to do a little bit of manual work. Make sure there are zeros in all the correct columns, and kind of go to the very last one. And in the very last column, there was no cost. I forgot what kind of some kind of flywheel thermal thing that just had an O&M cost. So again, then you'd start deleting it. All right, a little. Okay, now that we've got I put all of the other technologies in, kind of. I put the transmission, and we did all of the titles. I am so happy that titles kind of work. This is one of my big projects. I can just start hanging it in. Everything will be done. Okay. Now, then Excel will do it itself, probably. Okay, so that's that one. And now let's put in let's do the same thing. Perhaps this won't be as easy or clean. And let's take the data from the EIA, which was very sketchy data, nothing on efficiency and nothing on I don't know, the AC versus DC costs, nothing. Well, the O&M, they had a little bit. So, okay, other than the efficiency, they had most of the things. And when we push this into the file, oops, I have to use a Unicode text. There's a little Y and N at the end. Now, if I press Shift Control A, I'm just going to reset the column number. Okay, and just 1 minute. Okay, try one more time. Notice that they had a NA here, a nominal in the word nominal, but they also have NAs in the sheet. Okay, and if we, so let's, the other thing, and I took the Y and the N out at the end, if you can see. Now, if we, let's not remove the number and the comma, and let's not remove the parentheses. But we better remove the NAs. So we press continue, and we do the standard thing. Okay, now you notice that it did it okay. It put the NAs in. It even left some of the notes that it made. There were a few errors here because of taking out the NA. So what I'm going to do is just copy over the titles. All right, and then Shift Control T. And then I seem to have not copied the word technology, but there were 3 titles. And it did pretty well just by splitting it up. We have the nominal capacity in megawatts, the heat rate, the overnight capital cost. So we better put cost into capital cost, and then we have that okay. And that's how easy it was. This was so easy. And then I changed it so you just press exit program. So we kind of have it. Let's just, we really didn't need that last one, but we can kind of have our comparison, which I hope you see is, it's not just the NA, natural gas didn't work, okay. Sorry about this. And then you understand that this was the NA. It's the natural gas combined cycle, this cost. I understand from people in Malaysia that that's more like about 500 or 600 now. And then another natural gas. Okay, and the combustion turbine. What is more than the natural gas? Oh no. We're going to look at other sources. Okay, although advanced combustion turbine was less. Okay, and then we have our battery storage, which was kind of the whole reason to do this. So I'm calling this one EIA, and then I'm pausing again before we make one final. So the final step, I just press Control R. You just press Control R right next to that. I didn't know that for a long time, and then it copies to the right. Should have known that. And then, so we've got all of these in a kind of consistent format. Now I'm going to put them all in a master sheet. Okay, so here's finally the database. We've got all the different types of batteries. All the titles are consistent. I put the capital cost up here first, and then I rearranged it just a little bit because this usable energy will be relevant. Here's the power energy, the usable energy. This how many operating days per year. Well, that will be a function of the load shapes and other things. So will the energy. I think what I'm going to do is move these kind of to the bottom, and I also moved the charging cost to the bottom, and the inflation in the charging cost and the investment tax credit, because all of those things they could be different in different places, but we're really interested in the fundamentals of the battery. Now finally, let's take all of this data and let's sort it a little bit differently. Whoops. And of course, now when you could use the small function to sort it, but that would be a pain, I think. Let's do Alt DS, and let's put an option and sort from left to right. And then say we do have headers. I think, oh no, just a minute. Okay. Sort by, we need a header on the top one. Okay, now to finish this off, I've put the database together, sorted it a little, and sorted it by the type of battery, made sure we kept the low and the high separate, and sorted from low to high. And I also computed the cost per kilowatt instead of the cost per kilowatt hour. Okay, so I took the total cost per kilowatt hour, multiplied it by the kilowatt hours, which is the kilowatt times the hours, divided by the kilowatt, blah, blah, blah. And I'm curious to see if we increase the size, does the cost go down? And it seems to go down a little, with a big exception here. And then does the cost per kW go down? And that doesn't seem to be quite as consistent. And we can look at what the O&M cost does when the battery gets bigger, and it doesn't seem to change much. The cost actually, in terms of percentage of capex, goes a little higher, and then we can look at the efficiencies. So now we have a database, and we can kind of look, and in our island situation, we can kind of pick which one is okay. So I'm going to take this database of costs and put it right here on the website. Somebody was telling me, rightfully so, tell me where your files are, please. I'm going to give you a dislike if you don't do that. Okay, so it's in the solar page. Maybe I should have a special battery page eventually, but I doubt it. And then so that we've got our replication, and now we'll right here have the database. And that's c'est le fun.